Well, hello. I'm Pursue Grooves, beatmaker, music producer, vocalist, ex-MC. Sometimes I still do that though. Visual artist, DJ. I guess I could add a few more things to that, but what's the point? This video is about something that I really wanted to document because as we go into the new year, it's really easy to think about what we want to do in the upcoming year, but it also makes you reminisce a bit. And if you're like me, makes you wonder, 2018, how did we get here? That got me thinking about my project that's coming out this year, very soon. But it also got me thinking about my first album. This day and age, I think it's really important to document things so you don't forget while it's still in your head, because we don't get this time back. So today, I'm talking about my first project, Fun Like Passion. Fun Like Passion, I call it my first project, even though I had demos before that. It was the first project that I actually, took my time to sequence and had professionally mastered. I had it pro-dubbed and it was available online. CD Baby, which at the time was all your digital retailers as well, iTunes, a number of others. Spotify was not around in 2006 as far as I remember, as well as a lot of things. And Fun Like Passion is my baby. It's pretty much the thing that set it off. Well, I don't know if set it off is the right word, but it was my first body of work that allowed me to share my art internationally and led to everything else that was to come. 13 tracks, hip-hop foundation of course, a lot of R&B, a lot of funk. I am a DMV girl, pretty much inevitable. But I think what some may not have expected was the, let's say UK broken beat element to it as well. Which made a lot of sense to me because I think for the previous 8 or 9 years before, I was listening to a lot of UK and European producers. So if we want to talk about how I made Fun Like Passion. Fun Like Passion was made with 3 pieces of gear. SP505, Boss at the time, Roland now, even though they don't make the 505 anymore. But that and a microKORG keyboard and a Roland Juno 106. I had 2 of those at the time. And actually the SP, I had 2 of those at the time as well. I'm a Virgo, creature of habit. You find things that work, you kind of stick to it. And I kind of practice the same thing today. I'm not very quick to hop on a lot of new things. It's pretty much when I feel like I've exhausted my resources or I need a challenge, I'll move on to new gear or introduce a new piece of gear into my collection. I'm more focused on the sounds that I can make and how I can alter those sounds more so than new gear. That's just more time out of my schedule to learn that. And yeah, that's not cool. When I'm in art mode, when I'm in record mode, I just want to create. I think most artists are like this, right? I don't know. When you want to jump in, you just want to jump in. And that's why I fell in love with music. Out of everything. I have a degree in film, I studied theater for years, and yet music is a thing that always held my heart. I could wake up at 3 in the morning, work on music. It was just really personal and intimate, and it's creative. It's my heart. So, SP505, if you know anything about it, it's literally just a drum machine. And there are a few internal sounds, but nothing to write home about. And also, that's not something that I focused on. I literally saw the drum machine, saw the 505 as a drum machine, as a sampler, as a device to pretty much do two things: record sound and to chop sound. So, in terms of chopping, I really took time to do it the true hip-hop way, which is pretty much go through a lot of hip-hop records and jazz records and pretty much anything, and find drum sounds, you know, just one shots, you know, kick, boom, snare, boom, just one hits, you know. Pretty much built up a collection of that, and I think once I introduced that into my production, previously I was literally using drum sounds from drum machines. It really changed everything. It kind of made it all cohesive, and it really started to sound like what I envisioned it to be. So the SP1 was for chopping, and it was great because compared to the other samplers in that SP series, it was really the only one that had a wave editor. Even though the 404 is the most popular right now, it doesn't have a wave editor, which makes things a little complicated. Interesting, and you can still do tons of things with it, and it has a lot more effects than the 505. Not a lot, some. But there are other things like being able to put a battery in, which you cannot do with the 505. You know what, the biggest thing is probably the storage. The amount of sampling time you get in the 505 is pretty much 60 minutes in mono, 30 minutes in stereo. And this is also another thing that I did not realize production-wise until later on. If all I was thinking about was 60 minutes of recording time, I wasn't really thinking about the fact that all my sounds were going to be mono. But indeed, if you listen to all of my early productions, the sounds are all recorded in mono for the most part. I didn't really think about mixing all the creative, awesome things that you can do with that until a few projects later. But yeah, literally use the SP505 to chop sounds, specifically drum sounds. Every now and then maybe something else like a vocal drop or something like that. But drum chops, and I used it as a recorder just for layering purposes. I don't think you understand how I made my life a bit complicated. At the time I didn't see it as complicated, but let's just say that I appreciate recording method now a lot more, in a way, just because I know that there are other ways to do it that'll give me a lot more options. But I actually really appreciate the fact that that first album, I really had to train my ear, and I had to really focus and make sure that things were exactly how I wanted to, because I would pretty much record over the layer before, and once I recorded the next layer on top of it, no changing. Yeah, I did the entire album like that. So let's say for instance a track like Mushroom City, there's pretty much a piano solo, synth solo. I maybe did that twice, and the second time, I'm like, okay, that's it, let's keep going. And it also made me really train my ear, volume level wise at least, because as I said, at that time I wasn't doing a lot of mixing by any means. It was pretty much just levels. And considering that was the case, I think the album came out pretty well. So, SP505, the Michael Korg synth, which, you know, a lot of folks know and love. The bass lines on there are crazy. The synth sounds are awesome. And yeah, the Juno 106, really, really nice synth as well. So the album starts off with Missing You Simply, which is pretty much a tribute to JD, tribute to Dilla. All the beat makers, all the hip hop heads know what's up with that. It was 2006, so literally this project came out not too long after he passed, so that was kind of a no-brainer. Okay, so if you listen to that track, it's probably the most boom bap track on the album, and it opens that way, and it's with purpose, pretty much paying tribute, you know, to Dilla. There's also a track on there called Count Me Instrumental, because that was originally an instrumental track that was a remix to New Edition's Count Me Out. My faves on the album, or the ones that I think really kind of set my signature sound, and in a way, I think, was Make It Mine, which is a really heavy, funky track, and Mushroom City, which grabs my heart all the time. Also a very UK broken feel, and probably BK does it better. BK as in Brooklyn, and yeah, I was living in Brooklyn at the time. I had been in Brooklyn since 2001, so I was really soaking up a lot of that New York energy, but I was also soaking up a lot of international energy too. You know, MySpace was really huge at the time, and it was how all of us beat makers were meeting each other. I mean, MySpace really changed the game, really. I think about all the producers, beat makers of that era. Like, really, that's how we were all able to communicate and meet each other. But I think the biggest track on that album, or I'll say the one that ended up being the pusher of everything else, no pun intended, was a track called Push Up. Push Up was a track that was featured on the Beat Dimensions compilation, Beat Dimensions Volume 1 in particular, that was on a label out of the Netherlands, out of Amsterdam, Rush Hour Recordings. And that compilation, the Beat Dimensions compilation, really highlighted what the beat scene was looking at the moment. It's pretty much a collection of beat makers from all around the world who all had a similar appreciation for the same types of instrumental hip-hop, electronic music, and we all had our own interpretation of it, but you know, we all had a collective love of production and hip-hop for the most part, and a lot of other influences as well. But to get to Push Up and how that actually got on that compilation, I was on vacation in Amsterdam, and I was going to Paradiso to see Spacek and Jay Davy. Maybe Rich Medina was playing that event as well. And I remember seeing Jay Scarlett. Jay Scarlett was part of the group Spacek. I saw him standing on the wall and, you know, do what producers do. I was carrying CDs on me at the time, demos, and I handed him a copy and said, hey, I'm a producer, check it out. You know, you do these things, you never really know what'll come out of it. But the cool thing was the timing was impeccable, and he was already in the midst of working on this compilation. Or at least he had the idea for it, but I knew it was in the works. So a few weeks later, he pretty much hit me up online and was like, hey, How do you feel about being part of this compilation? Cool. Big deal. Because that meant my first time, the track on vinyl, first time on a label, international label at that, and also being featured with other producers, beat makers. Validation, you want to call it? Maybe. It definitely let me know that I was going in the right direction, and that there was definitely more in store. The Beat Dimensions compilation also included folks like Flying Lotus and Sam I Am. You know, they have a track on there as Flying Sam. There's also a track by Hudson Mohawk, you know. So I know that in the beginning they had actually confused my track Push Up with someone else's. So I know in the digital realm it may or may not be the right track. But anyways, I was really lucky to be on that project. But this is all stemming from a track from my first project. It's from Fun Like Passion. Another awesome thing that really kind of gave me validation is that I got a review in one of my favorite magazines. Straight No Chaser. Straight No Chaser was one of the coolest music magazines at the time. UK based, great graphics, and covered the scene really well. And it was a big deal to get a review in there. And it was a good review. You want to talk about confidence builder? That did it. And this is from a project that no label, no promoter. I did it all myself. You know, I wrote the tracks, produced the tracks. Oh yeah, and there's a bonus track at the end, the last one, Nasty Girl. It's the only one with me rhyming on it. And that track got me a lot of gigs too. Even though I very rarely did it live, but sometimes. That's the fun part, right? Little cherry on the top. Wrote it, produced it, designed it. Got it mastered by somebody else. But paid for the duplication, sent it out, got it around the folks. And I hustled. I'm just saying. Of course things are different now. The way the industry moves is different now. The way that we communicate is different now. But at the end of the day, the game is still the same. You still hustle. You still gotta hustle. Some folks get lucky, but you can make the most amazing thing, and if no one ever hears it, then, you know. Just sad. Oh, and did I mention Georgia on the cover? Please. If you don't know about Georgia and Muldrow, fix yourself. Fix yourself. Ladies and gentlemen, we got another one. An imaginative Astro beatmaker, that is. She goes by the name of Benny Smith or Pursuit Grooves. When in her modest studio or spinning around New York City and beyond. With detectable nods to the likes of Bling 47, Dilla, Cameo, Loose Ends, and whatnot, she's come up with a synth-laden suite of pressurized beats. Sometimes palpitating and passionate, as on Healing Secrets. At other times, organic and crisp and boom snap, like Sensation and Missing You Simply. It's that intimate and often tender dimension to the compositions that really makes it work as an entire album. Airplay is growing, and Jay Scarlett's picked a track for his forthcoming Beatstrumentals comp. Bless. Ladies everywhere, step into the studio and get involved. It's 2006. I don't know where the time goes. But I can listen to that project today. I couldn't tell you what year it was. It still feels just as fresh. just as groovy as when I first made it. Enjoy.
Kiss the air as it unfolds. Bump the bass line when it gets bold. Maybe just something that you can't hold. Give in to me and I can't control. Possessed by the manifest. Less yet, best is yet to come, and I can't give less. This impresses all the time. Throwing up kudos. Oh, y'all too kind. I take it with these, but don't tease me. It's worth the refill, but I'm giving out freebies. Take it while you can, cause the truth is real. Satisfy your hunger, you know I will. And maybe we can kick it, let's have a ball. I'll show you what I got, tell them what you saw. By law, you know I got the remedy. Devastating for years and doing it lovely. Let that ride a little bit. It's been a while since I've been on the mic. I've been spending a lot of time working on beats. But you know what? I'm feeling real good right now. 2006. Pursue groove. The ladies can get nasty too, fellas. Watch it.
Oh, that was fun.